I don't want Adana to catch us doing this. Chioma, Obina whispered under his breath. Relax, Chioma said with a sinister smirk while licking her lips. Adana froze. She had only come upstairs to surprise her groom before the wedding day. Maybe share a quiet moment. But now she was standing outside a half-closed hotel door, listening to the two people she trusted most in the world. Her heartbeat quickened. The words stung before she even saw their faces. Inside, Obina paced the room nervously. We need to hurry back. If she starts looking for us, she won't. Chioma cut him off, her tone calm and mocking. Adana is too blind to see what's right under her nose. She thinks you're her dream man. She thinks I'm her loyal friend. She'll never suspect. Adana's hands shook as she leaned against the wall. She dared to peek through the slight opening in the door. There they were. Obina without his jacket, his tie loose around his neck, and Chioma leaning back on the bed, her red dress pulled high above her knees, smiling like the devil himself had blessed her. You're forgetting what's at stake, Obina muttered. Her father has influence in every boardroom in this city. Once I marry her, I'll be sitting at those tables. You and I will finally have the life we deserve. Chioma laughed, low and cruel. Deserve? Please. All my life I've watched her shine while I stood in her shadow. Her clothes, her cars, her family name. Everything was handed to her. And now, thanks to you, I finally get to take something back. What's hers will be mine. Adana's chest tightened. She pressed her palm hard against her lips to stop a cry from escaping. Her eyes burned with tears as she listened. Obina moved closer to Chioma, lowering his voice. We must be careful. If she finds out before the wedding, then you lose the jackpot, Chioma interrupted. But she won't. She's too busy being the perfect daughter, too busy dreaming of happily ever after. You'll say the vows, kiss her hand, and by tomorrow you'll own everything her family name carries. Meanwhile, she slid her arms around his neck, her voice dropping to a whisper. I'll be the one you truly belong to. Adana's knees nearly gave way. She stumbled back from the door, but she couldn't walk away just yet. She forced herself to listen a little longer. Obina chuckled, giving in to Chioma's embrace. Then it's settled. After the wedding, I'll move the funds. We disappear for a while, let the dust settle. By the time she realizes, it'll be too late. Chioma's smile widened. And the best part? She'll still be the one blamed for trusting the wrong man. The whole city will pity poor Adana while we enjoy her father's money. Adana's tears spilled freely now. Every word felt like a knife slicing deeper. She had given Obina her heart, trusted Chioma like a sister, and in return, they plotted to strip her of everything. Her phone buzzed in her hand. It was her mother, Victoria, calling to check on her. She silenced it quickly, terrified the sound would betray her presence. She couldn't let them know she was there. Not yet. She forced herself to pull away from the door completely. Her reflection in a small mirror on the wall startled her. Eyes red, lips trembling, her bridal robe looking suddenly out of place. She looked like a stranger. She walked down the corridor slowly, each step heavier than the last. Her chest rose and fell as if carrying stones. She found a quiet corner near the stairwell, pressed her back against the wall, and slid down until she was sitting on the floor. Tears streamed, but no sobs escaped. She couldn't allow herself to break here. Memories flashed. Obina holding her hand and telling her she was his world. Chioma helping her pick the wedding dress and saying, "You'll be the most beautiful bride Nigeria has ever seen." Every laugh, every plan, every promise now dripped with poison. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from Obina. "Hey love, hope the decorator isn't stressing you. Can't wait to see you later." Adana stared at the screen until her vision blurred. He was lying even now, pretending to be the loving groom while plotting behind her back. Slowly, she wiped her tears and took a deep breath. Her voice was a whisper meant only for herself. "They will not disgrace me. I will disgrace them." Her trembling stopped. In that moment, the pain in her chest hardened into resolve. She wasn't going to run away. She wasn't going to cancel the wedding quietly. She would wait. She would plan. And when the right time came, she would bring them both down in front of the entire world. With her head held a little higher, Adana stood, fixed her robe, and walked out of the hotel into the harsh Lagos sun. The brightness blinded her for a moment, but she didn't look back. She had seen enough. The girl who entered that corridor had died at the door of room 608. The woman who left was different. Broken, yes, but sharper, stronger, and ready for a war neither Obinna nor Chioma saw coming. By the time Adana reached her room, their whispers still scratched at her ears. Felt unreal. The only way to breathe was to ask herself, how did I fall for this? And the answer pulled her straight into the past. It began at her father's charity gala in Eco Hotel. Lights everywhere. Guests greeting Chief Daniel. Chioma tugged her arm. Babe, there's someone you must meet, Chioma said. He's not like those loud Lagos boys. He's calm. He's serious. They stopped before a tall man in a navy suit. His tie was slightly crooked, his smile warm. Obinna, meet my best girl, Chioma said. Good evening, Obinna said. You look too calm for someone holding a whole event together. Adana laughed. His voice wasn't loud. He didn't show off. He looked at her like he actually saw her. That night he texted, you carry peace. I haven't stopped thinking about you. It was simple. She liked simple. He called in the mornings to pray. He asked about her day. He took her to a buka and watched her face. Is this okay? He asked. Yes, she said, and meant it. One evening by the lagoon, he stared at the water. As a boy, I watched ships from the bridge, he said. I promised myself I would move goods across the world. Dreams are expensive, but I'm trying. She heard humility. She did not hear hunger. That was her first blind spot. Meeting her parents came next. He brought palm oil and yam. He greeted properly. What are your intentions? Chief Daniel asked. To love your daughter with respect, Obinna said. To build a clean life. Victoria's eyes softened. Adana felt safe. Chioma stood by the kitchen door, smiling. I told you, she whispered later. Husband material. The first red flag came like a fly you wave away. Sunday lunch. Chief Daniel mentioned a new contract at the port. Obinna leaned in a little too quickly. Sir, I'd love to see how a project like that is structured, he said. Not to be involved, just to learn. We have teams for that, Chief Daniel replied. Of course, Obinna said, still smiling. That night in the car he tried again, softer. Do you think one day I can sit in on one of your dad's meetings? Just to see how people at that level think. In time, Adana said. There's protocol. No pressure, he said, hands up. Only if it's right. Another small sign showed up at a boutique. Chioma zipped a dress while Adana twirled. You look like a dream, Chioma said, then added under her breath. Some people have it so easy. What did you say? Chioma's smile snapped bright. I said the dress fits easy. Lucky you. The tone was sour. Adana let it go because later that day Chioma sent flowers. To my queen. No one deserves love like you. Sweet words cover bitter roots. She sees that now. The proposal was simple. Tarqua Bay. Sunset. He knelt, voice shaking. I don't have perfect words, he said. But I feel seen with you. I feel safe. Marry me. Yes, Adana whispered, crying. He kept saying, I will protect you. She believed him. Chief Daniel threw a small party. Victoria hugged Obinna for long. Chioma screamed and posted. My best girl is off the market. After that, doors opened. Handshakes. Introductions. Obinna stayed polite, careful. But his questions sharpened. Your dad's friend at ports, what kind of people does he like to work with? He asked one evening. I don't know, Obinna, she said, laughing it off. Focus on your own wins. I am, he said. Just learning. Her phone once buzzed from an unknown number. Be careful with Obinna. Men who move too fast move for a reason. She showed Chioma. Jealous people, Chioma said. Delete it. Adana deleted it. 2 weeks to the wedding, they did food tasting. Everyone teased Obina for asking for extra moi. In the noise, he leaned close. "We should sign that pre-wedding account access we discussed," he said. "In case your dad's payments delay, I can help with vendors. I don't want embarrassment on your big day." "We discussed what?" Adana asked. He smiled too fast. "I mean, we talked about stress. I can support if you want." "It's covered," she said. Her chest pinched. "Of course," he said, hands raised. "Only trying to be useful." That night she told Chioma. He asked about account access. Felt wrong. "Let men feel needed," Chioma said. "Don't make it a thing." Adana nodded, pushed the feeling aside, and kept planning. But now, after room 608, every small stone she kicked aside had become a wall. The questions about boardrooms, the money talk, the unknown warning, Chioma's tone, Chioma's touch on his arm, called play. All of it lined up like a clear road to betrayal. She sat on her bed and scrolled through old photos. Obina's arm around her waist, Chioma pressed to her side, all smiles. Felt like looking at strangers. Her phone lit up. "Obina. Decorator okay? Need me to come?" She stared, then typed, "All good. Rest. Tomorrow is long." Another message jumped in. "Chioma. Fittings at 10 a.m. You will scatter Legos. Love you." Adana's jaw tightened. She placed the phone on the table and faced the mirror. "I trusted you," she told the glass. "Both of you." She did not cry. Not this time. She pulled a notepad and wrote one word in bold. Evidence. Under it, she listed record calls and chats. Watch movements. Save screenshots. Don't confront. Stay calm. She opened her files and created a folder. Room 608. She saved yesterday's audio. She backed it up. She scrolled their chats. Flagged little things that once felt sweet but now felt like small steps in a bigger plan. Her mother knocked lightly. "Can I come in?" "Yes, Mummy." Victoria sat and searched her face. "Wedding stress?" "A bit," Adana said. "It is normal," Victoria said. "Fear can be love trying to protect itself. If anything is wrong, you will see it clearly." Adana nodded. "Thank you." When Victoria left, the room felt quiet in a new way. Not empty, focused. She set simple alarms. 6:30 a.m. Short workout. Clear head. 8:30 a.m. Pass by hotel. Note movements. 10 a.m. Fittings with Chioma. Watch. Smile. 1 p.m. Vendor check. Keep routine. She added one line to her notes. Record first. Feel later. Her phone buzzed again. Obina sent a voice note praying for peace, for love, for our future. His voice sounded warm. It used to comfort her. Now it sounded like a mask. She saved it to room 608. She walked to the wardrobe and touched her wedding dress. The lace felt soft against her fingers. "You will not be wasted," she whispered. She turned off the main light and sat by the window. Cars moved outside. A dog barked twice and stopped. The city kept going like nothing had broken. Inside her, something had broken, but something else had formed around it. A clear, steady shape. She picked up the notepad again and wrote the last line for the night. "Tomorrow I start." Then she slid the notepad under her pillow, lay down, and breathed slow. "They will not disgrace me," she said into the dark. "I will disgrace them." Sleep came late, light and alert. Morning would come fast. And when it did, she would be ready to begin. Morning came with a question. Could Adana stand near them and not break? Her alarm rang at 6:30 a.m. She sat up and said, "Record first. Feel later." The words steadied her. A quick workout cleared the fog. She faced the mirror, eyes red but calm. "You are not weak," she told herself. "You are careful." At 8:30 a.m., she drove past Hotel Emerald. She didn't go in. She watched the side exit. Cleaners came out. A bellboy pushed a cart. No Obina. No Chioma. She snapped a photo of the door, saved it to room 608, and left. By 9:55 a.m., she reached the bridal studio. She drew a slow breath and stepped inside. Chioma burst forward. My bride. She hugged Adana tight. Today we scatter this place. Adana smiled with an empty calm. I'm ready. You look tired, Chioma said, studying her. Are you sleeping? Wedding stress, Adana said. Good stress, Chioma laughed. After tomorrow, rest will hold you. The tailor brought the gown. Lace and pearls caught the light. Chioma clapped. Turn. Walk. Pose. She lifted her phone. Video for my story. Send it to me later, Adana said. Of course, Chioma said. Caption. My best girl is a dream. Don't tag Obina, Adana added softly. Let's keep tomorrow quiet. A quick flicker crossed Chioma's eyes. No problem. She lowered the phone. Privacy queen. Pins, small fixes, final notes. When they were done, Chioma leaned close. Lunch? I'm starving. Adana checked the time. 12:07 p.m. Watching mattered more than rushing. Let's go. They sat by a window in a small cafe. Jollof and chicken for Chioma. Water for Adana. In her pocket, the recorder hummed. Tomorrow will be mad. Chioma grinned. You will cry. Your father will cry. Obina too. Love sweet when money no enter wala. You think Obina will cry? Adana asked. He better. Chioma laughed. Fine boy, clean suits, and now my babe on top? God is showing off. You like him? Adana asked, voice light. Like him? Chioma rolled her eyes. He is your man. My own is Mr. Nollywood. She giggled, then softened. I like how he respects you. Adana said. He respects me. What is it? Chioma asked. You're off. Talk. I'm tired, Adana said. Everything is happening at once. Let me carry load, Chioma offered. I can handle small balances. Hair. Makeup. Cold slid down Adana's spine. She kept her voice even. My parents settled everything. Good, Chioma smiled. I'm only trying to help. A brief silence. Chioma's phone buzzed. She glanced down and flipped it face down. Vendors, she said quickly. People stress too much. Obina said he's with his tailor. Adana noted, checking her phone. Where is the shop again? Somewhere on the island. Chioma waved. Ask your man. I will, Adana said. At the cars, Chioma hugged her again. Sleep. Tomorrow will be beautiful. I love you, Adana said. I love you too, Chioma replied, soft like silk. As Chioma drove off, Adana opened room 608 and typed. Chioma offered payments again. 12:24 p.m. Dodge Taylor's address. Phone face down. Message hidden? She headed to vendor checks. Flowers, chairs, cake. She smiled. She nodded. She looked like a bride. Inside, the ache pressed against her ribs. Victoria squeezed her hand. You're quiet. I'm saving my voice for the vows, Adana said. At 3:10 p.m., Obina called. How was the fitting? He asked, voice warm. Fine, she said. Where are you? With my tailor, he replied. I must look like your prince. What's the address? He laughed lightly. Off Akin Adesala somewhere. I don't know road names. Okay, she said. See you later? Definitely. Your dad wants protocol talk. Okay. I love you, he said. I know, she answered, then ended the call. She added notes. Vague about address. 3:12 p.m. Over sweet tone. Evening came. Obina arrived at 6:40 p.m. Smile steady. Hands respectful. Good evening, sir. Good evening, ma. Sit, Chief Daniel said. Tomorrow must be smooth. Phones off during vows. Security at every gate. If anyone tries drama. No drama, Obina said, touching his chest. I will protect your daughter. Adana watched him speak the line like practice. She kept her face soft. Victoria brought drinks. Eat, she told him. You look thinner. Pre-wedding stress, he joked. Tomorrow I will eat enough jollof for 3 men. They laughed. For 30 minutes he was perfect, helpful, gentle, clean. He asked nothing, hinted at nothing. Then he offered to pray. "Let me pray for this home," he said. His voice carried all the right words. "Amen," they chorused. As he rose to leave, he touched Adana's elbow. 2 minutes. They stepped into the garden. The night air was warm. "I know this pressure," he said kindly. "If anything worries you, tell me." "I'm fine," she said. "Even if you're not," he smiled. "Tomorrow will fix everything." "Tomorrow will fix everything," she echoed. He hugged her. She let him. His cologne was familiar. She did not close her eyes. "I'll see you in church," he said. "See you," she replied. He left. Inside, her father spoke on the phone. Her mother folded napkins. The house looked normal. She felt like a guest in her own life. In her room, she locked the door and sat on the floor. Tears came quiet, steady. She wiped her face, hit record. "Day before the wedding," she whispered. "He prayed in our house." She hugged me. "I can't scream. I can't tell. But I can see." She saved the file to room 608. Her phone buzzed. An unknown number. "Check your man's location sharing. If it's off, he's not where he says he is." Her breath caught. She checked WhatsApp. Obina's live location was off. Chioma's too. The blank maps stared back. "Okay," she said to the quiet. "Okay." She wrote fresh steps. No confrontations. Track patterns, not rumors. Keep recording. Keep calm. She lay back and placed a hand over her chest as if holding a stone in place. The pain was heavy but clear. She would carry it without dropping it on the floor of her parents' home. She turned off the light. The clock ticked. A car horn chirped outside and stopped. In the dark, she repeated the rule that would carry her to morning. Record first. Feel later. Tomorrow she would keep watching. Evidence would begin. For now, she would sleep with her plan under her pillow and her eyes open inside her dreams. "Pick up, Obina," Adana whispered at 7:58 a.m. Phone on speaker, recorder running. "Pick up." He answered on the 4th ring, voice bright. "Good morning, my love." "Morning," she said, steady. "Please help me with one small thing. The decorator says the hall balance must come from one account. Can you send me the account you plan to use?" A brief pause, then a soft laugh. "You and your files. I'll send it later." "Now would help," Adana said. "She's on my neck." "Okay," he replied. "Let me check details and text you." She ended the call and saved the audio to room 608. By 8:30 a.m., she was parked near Hotel Emerald. Cap low, glasses on. She watched the staff entrance. A bellboy pushed a cart. Then Chioma slipped through the back door. Cap, shades, head down, and jumped into a ride. Adana snapped a photo. 8:43 a.m. She saved it and typed, "Chioma leaving back door, 8:43. Then she drove to a cafe, opened WhatsApp web, and pulled old chats. "Chioma, if vendors stress you, let me handle small balances. We can settle later." "Chioma, are you sure your dad hasn't given Obina access? It would be easier." Screenshots saved. Labeled. Backed up. At 9:27, Obina texted, "Here's the account I'll use for emergencies. First Royal Bank, AG Logistics Limited, 0101. Only if needed, my queen." Adana replied, "Noted. I'll add it to the file." She added it to room 608, not to any vendor sheet. At 10:02, she met Chioma for veil pickup. "My bride," Chioma sang, hugging her. "Please help me," Adana said mildly. "If vendors can't reach me tomorrow, can they call you?" "Of course," Chioma beamed. "Give them my number." Also, Adana added, "The decorator said any last-minute balance can be paid by anyone and emailed. If I'm busy, can you handle it?" Yes, Chioma said. "I'll be your fixer." They walked to the lot. "Where did you rush to this morning?" Adana asked lightly. "Your line was off." Chioma paused half a second. "Salon. They changed my wig." "Drama. Which salon?" "Onairu side," she said. Adana nodded and left. By noon she sat with her parents, phone recording under a pillow. Chief Daniel frowned at his tablet. One thing, he said. The caterer says someone called as family rep to confirm their balance. I told them to wait for me. Did you ask Obina to pay anyone? No, Adana said evenly. Everything passes through you. Good, he said. We keep it clean. In her room, she called the caterer. Please, who called? A woman, the caterer said. She asked for our account. I said we wait for Chief. Did she give a name? She started with Chi, then cut the call. Thank you, Adana said. Please wait for my father's go-ahead. She saved. Caterer flagged woman caller. Likely Chioma. Obina pinged again. Have you eaten? I can send food. Also, I can move small money to the decorator so your mind will rest. No need, she wrote back. Daddy sent everything. At 2:18 p.m., she called him, recorder on. Babe, my dad says all payments must come from his office. Please don't pay anyone. If they call, ask them to call me. No problem, he said smoothly. I won't move until you say. Great, she replied. Which street is your tailor? I want to send a driver near there. Off Akina Desala, he said, vague again. You know Lagos, everywhere is close. True, she said, and cut the call. New note. Still vague about location. At 3 o'clock, she walked into Hotel Emerald like any guest. Mask on, cap low. On the 4th floor, she noted cameras and exits. The elevator dinged. Chioma stepped out scrolling. Adana ducked behind a housekeeping cart, heart pounding. Heels clicked past. Adana waited 3 breaths, then whispered to her phone. 4th floor, 3:11 p.m. Chioma present, and left. At 4:05, she met the family lawyer under the pretense of vendor indemnity. If someone pretends to be family and tries to divert vendor funds, is it fraud? She asked. Yes, he said. Misrepresentation and attempt to obtain by false pretense. Can I email you recordings and screenshots to assess? Send them, he replied. And Adana, don't carry it alone. I won't. Back in the car, she sent a trimmed folder. Chats, the backdoor photo, the caterer call summary, Obina's account text. Evening stew filled the house. Staff moved chairs. Adana dialed Chioma on speaker, recorder on. Babe, did you call the caterer as family rep? She asked lightly. Me? Chioma laughed. Why would I? Your dad has it. True, Adana said. Maybe they mixed numbers. They did, Chioma replied. People love drama. Okay, Adana said and ended the call. She saved. She denied. Caterer heard Chi. Back in her room, she sat on the floor and hit record. Day before the wedding, she whispered. He prayed in our house. She left the hotel back door at 8:43. Caterer says a woman tried to confirm balance. He sent a company account. He stayed vague about location. I can't scream. I can see. She saved the file and wrote, I will not confront tonight. I will gather and wait. She faced the mirror and said each word like a vow. They will not disgrace me. I will disgrace them. Daddy, Mummy, I need to show you something now. Adana's voice was steady, but her hands were tight around her phone. Chief Daniel looked up from the dining table. Victoria paused mid-fold with napkins. The house was quiet, as if it knew to listen. Sit, her father said, worry sliding onto his face. What happened? Adana sat and placed her phone on the table between them. Please don't panic. Please don't shout. Just listen. Victoria moved closer, hand on her daughter's shoulder. We're here. Adana opened room 608. She pressed play on the first audio. The hotel corridor, Obina's whisper, Chioma's laughter. The voices poured into the room like smoke. I don't want Adana to catch us doing this. Relax. Victoria's hand slipped from Adana's shoulder to her hand and held it tight. Chief Daniel's jaw clenched. He didn't blink. Adana pressed play on the second clip. Chioma offering to handle vendor balances. Obina promising to move funds after the wedding. Then she opened the photo. Chioma leaving the hotel's back door at 8:43 a.m. She showed the caterer call summary. A woman starting Chi. Before cutting the line, she opened Obina's text with the company account. First Royal Bank, AG Logistics Limited, 0101. No one spoke for 10 seconds. Then her father stood up slowly. "Look at me," he said to Adana. She looked up. His voice softened. "You did well." Victoria's eyes shone. "My daughter, I'm so sorry. I was going to keep quiet," Adana said, the words small. "I thought of walking away, but I don't want to carry their shame for them." "You will not carry it," Victoria said. "They will carry it themselves." Chief Daniel took a breath and picked up the phone, scrolling through the files with deliberate care. "This is more than cheating," he said. "This is planned fraud." Adana nodded. "I went to the lawyer. He said misrepresentation and attempt to obtain by false pretense." "Good," her father said. "We will build this case so clean that even the devil will fear it." Victoria squeezed Adana's hand again. "Tell us everything from the start." Adana told it in one straight line. The whisper at the hotel, the veil fitting, Chioma offering to pay, Obina's vague addresses, the caterer's warning, the hotel sighting, the prayer in their home. She did not cry. She did not add color. She just laid the truth in front of them like a ledger. When she finished, the house felt colder. Chief Daniel's voice was calm but heavy. "Do you still want the wedding?" Adana shook her head. "I want the church. I want the guests. I want the altar. I want the priest to ask that old question. Then I want the truth to walk out by itself." Victoria understood at once. "The objection," she said softly. "Yes," Adana replied. "I will object. I'll present the proof. Then I want the police to walk in and take both of them." Her father nodded slowly, as if weighing each step on a scale. "If we do this, we do it properly. No chaos, no shouting, no fight, only truth and law." "I don't want drama," Adana said. "I want dignity." "Then we move like people with sense," he said. "Victoria, call Barrister Hugo. Put the files in his hands now. We need a petition ready before dawn." Victoria stood and dialed. "Hugo, come to the house," she said. "It is urgent. Tonight." Chief Daniel tapped his phone and paced. "I know the DPO who owes me favors. We will station plainclothes officers outside the church and at the side entrance. No uniforms. No noise. At the signal, they enter." "What will be the signal?" Victoria asked. "When the priest asks for objections and our daughter speaks," Chief Daniel said, eyes on Adana. "That is the signal." Adana swallowed. "I can do it." "You will not be alone," Victoria said. "I will be on the front pew. Your father will be on your left. The lawyer will be 2 seats behind you with the printed petition." She squeezed Adana's hand. "We will stand with you." Chief Daniel turned to his daughter. "We need clean playback. No internet failure. Can we project the audio and the photo in the church?" Adana nodded. "We can. The media team already set a projector for the vows video. I'll ask tech to run a test file in the morning. We'll load the evidence with a safe name. I'll keep the originals on a drive." "Good," he said. "We also need a second plan if they try to grab the mic or shout." "I won't shout," Adana said. "I will read from a paper. Short and clear." Victoria nodded. "Write it now. Simple words. Then we print." They moved as if a timer had started. Adana opened notes and typed, "I object. Here's my reason. My groom, Obina, and my bridesmaid, Chioma, plan to defraud my family. I have recordings, messages, and witness notes. Please play the files." She looked up. "Short enough." "Perfect," Victoria said. Chief Daniel made the next call. "Henry," he said to the head of security, "tomorrow you will double-check the side doors. We will allow 2 plainclothes officers inside to sit at the back. 2 will wait outside. Clear the aisle when our daughter speaks. No one touches her. If Obina or Chioma moves toward her, hold them. When the police enter, step aside." "Yes, sir," Henry said over the phone. "Understood." Adana watched her father manage the room like a quiet storm. He was not shouting. He was building a cover she could stand under. "Daddy," she said, voice small again. "Thank you." He stopped pacing and placed both hands on her shoulders. "I promised you peace," he said. "I will not let two small souls steal it." Barrister Hugo arrived within the hour, sleeves rolled up. He sat, read the summaries, listened to clips, studied the photo, and nodded. "This will stand," he said. "We will print transcriptions of the key audio lines, attach screenshots, and file a petition with the DPO tonight. Tomorrow, when you object, I will hand the officers the file and the petition number." "Can we keep it quiet until that moment?" Victoria asked. "Yes," Hugo replied. "The officers will attend as guests. I will brief them outside." Adana spoke softly. "Barrister, please, no extra noise. I want order." "You'll have order," he said. They worked as a team. Hugo drafted. Victoria printed. Chief Daniel confirmed officers and transport. Adana placed the final files on 2 flash drives, labeled them hymn slides and vows rehearsal. She slipped one into her clutch and handed the second to her mother. "What about Chioma's seat?" Victoria asked. "She is in the bridal party." "Leave her there," Adana said. "Let her watch me walk in." Victoria nodded, a calm fire in her eyes. "Then she will watch you walk out stronger." The house grew quiet again. Papers stacked. Phones cooled. The plan settled into place like tiles on a floor. Adana stood. "I'm going to rest." Victoria rose too and pulled her into a long hug. "You are brave." "I am loved," Adana whispered back. "That is why I can be brave." Chief Daniel added, voice firm, "Tomorrow, you will not be the girl they tried to use. You will be the woman who ended their game." Adana smiled for the first time all day, small but real. "Tomorrow I speak." "And when you speak," her father said, "the law will answer." Adana took her clutch, slid the flash drive in, and held it like a key. She turned to both of them. "Thank you for choosing me." "Always," Victoria said. "Always," Chief Daniel echoed. Adana walked to her room, closed the door, and placed the clutch on the dresser. In the mirror, she saw no tears now, only clear eyes and a steady jaw. She picked up her phone and recorded one last note to room 608. "Family briefed. Lawyer ready. Police in place. Projector plan set. I will object at the altar." She ended the recording, lay down, and pulled the sheet to her chest. Sleep didn't come at once, but fear didn't stay either. In the quiet, her promise held her like a hand. "They will not disgrace me," she said into the dark. "I will disgrace them." "Today is the day," Adana said to the mirror. Her voice did not shake. Victoria fixed the veil and met her eyes. "Are you ready?" "I am," Adana replied. In her clutch lay the flash drive labeled vows rehearsal and the one-page objection note, folded twice. Chief Daniel stepped in, already in his agbada, face calm. "Barrister Hugo has filed the petition. The DPO confirmed 2 plainclothes officers are seated at the back, 2 outside. Henry has briefed the ushers. When you speak, the aisle clears." Adana nodded. "Thank you, Daddy." Hugo appeared at the door with a file. "I'll sit 3rd row, left side. When you object, I stand and hand the petition to the officers." "No drama," Adana said. "No drama," Hugo agreed. A knock. Bridesmaids swept in perfume, silk, chatter. Chioma led them, glowing. "My bride," she sang, hugging Adana. "God, you look like a miracle." Adana hugged back, steady. "Thank you." Chioma's eyes flicked to the clutch. "Everything set?" "All set," Adana said. One by one, the bridesmaids took photos. Chioma leaned close, whispering, "Last night I prayed for you." "I know," Adana said. "Thank you." Victoria clapped softly. "Ladies, we move in 30 minutes. Chioma linked Adana's arm. "Before we go, quick video for your story. Just say, 'Today, I marry my best friend.'" Adana's eyes held hers. "I'll post later." Chioma laughed lightly. "No waala." When the room cleared, Victoria kissed Adana's forehead. Remember, you are not alone. I know, Adana said. They left for the church in separate cars. Adana with her mother, the bridesmaids behind. On the way, Victoria reached for her hand. Breathe. Adana breathed. They arrived at the cathedral to the sound of drums and soft choir harmonies. Guests already filled the pews, politicians, business people, church elders, cousins. Phones went up. Whispers rippled. Henry, the head of security, met them at the side entrance. Welcome, Ma. The route is clear. The two officers are in the last pew, right side. Media desk is set. Thank you, Victoria said. Adana heard her name from across the courtyard. Obina stood near the main doors in a clean tuxedo, grinning like a poster. He walked over fast, stopped 2 steps away, and took her hands. You look like heaven, he said. Thank you, Adana replied. He searched her eyes. Are you okay? I'm fine, she said. Are you ready? I've never been more ready, he said, squeezing her fingers. After today, no one will separate us. Adana smiled with only her mouth. After today, nothing will be hidden again. He laughed, took it as romance. Amen. He kissed her hand, then turned to greet Victoria and Chief Daniel. Mummy, Daddy, he said, respectful. Thank you for everything. Chief Daniel's smile was faint but polite. Make sure you stand well before God today. I will, sir. Inside, the media team tested microphones. A young technician approached Adana. Auntie, the vow video is loaded and working. Do you want us to test the other file? Yes, Adana said. Label rehearsal slide 2. No sound. Just open and close so I know it loads. He nodded and hurried off. Henry leaned in. 2 ushers will stand by the projector table when the priest starts vows. If anyone tries to touch equipment, they block. Good, Adana said. In the bridal room, the choir warmed up with Great is Thy Faithfulness. Adana sat, hands on her lap. Chioma adjusted her own dress in the mirror, then turned with a bright smile. How are you feeling now? Chioma asked. Calm, Adana said. Chioma tilted her head. You went quiet these last few days. Wedding stress, Adana said. Chioma laughed. True. After today, we rest. Adana watched her, then said slowly, Thank you for everything you have done for me. Chioma touched her heart. I will always do more. Adana held her gaze for 1 second longer, then looked away. Call the girls. It's time. In the sanctuary, men in lace and women in geli filled the first rows. Chief Daniel walked up the aisle and spoke quietly with 2 ushers. Henry nodded to him from the back. Hugo opened his file and checked the petition number again, lips moving as if rehearsing a line. Obina took his place at the altar, hands folded, smile soft. His best man whispered something and they both laughed. Camera flashed. The organist changed to the processional hymn. Outside the double doors, Adana linked arms with her father. Victoria straightened the veil and kissed her cheek. Walk like truth, her mother whispered. I will, Adana said. The doors opened. The church rose as one. The choir swelled. Adana stepped forward, each step measured, each breath even. Faces blurred to color and light. She kept her eyes on the aisle and the altar beyond it, on the small black mic that would carry her voice to every corner. She reached the front. Chief Daniel placed her hand in Obina's and stepped aside. Obina whispered, You look perfect. Adana answered, I am present. They turned to the priest. He smiled at the glowing crowd. This is the day the Lord has made, he said gently. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Amen, the church answered. The priest welcomed both families, thanked the choir, and spoke a short word about covenant and truth. As he spoke, Adana's eyes went to Hugo. He gave a tiny nod. At the back, the 2 plainclothes officers shifted forward a row. Henry and the ushers moved to the sides, clearing a narrow path down the center. The priest closed his Bible and lifted the booklet of vows. We will now take the solemn vows, he said. But first, Adana's heart thudded once, hard. She felt the note paper against her palm inside the clutch. She felt the weight of the flash drive. She felt her mother's gaze from the front pew. She felt her father's steady presence, like a wall behind her. The priest continued, "The church asks a question that has been asked for generations, to guard the truth of this union." Chioma shifted slightly among the bridesmaids, smile fixed, bouquet held too tight. Obina's jaw set in a practiced kindness. He glanced at Adana, still confident. At the media desk, the technician hovered over the laptop labeled vows. An usher stood behind him, hands clasped, ready. The priest lifted his face to the congregation. "If there is any person here who knows a just cause why these two should not be joined together in holy matrimony." A soft rustle moved through the pews the way wind moves dry leaves. Adana inhaled once, slow and deep. She straightened her shoulders. "Speak now," the priest said, "or forever hold your peace." "I have an objection," Adana said, her voice steady and sharp. The church froze. Heads turned. Fans stopped mid-swing. Even the choir cut off mid-note. The priest lowered the booklet in his hands, his brow furrowing. "My daughter," he said carefully, "do you know what you are saying?" "I do," Adana replied. She took one step forward, veil trembling only slightly. "I will give my reason in simple words. Then I will show proof." A ripple ran through the pews. Guests whispered, shifting in their seats. Phones lifted discreetly. Obina turned toward her, his smile cracking, eyes narrowing. "Adana, what is this?" he whispered, trying to laugh. "It's a joke, right?" She didn't look at him. She opened her clutch, pulled out a folded sheet of paper, and spoke so everyone could hear. "I will read." In the third row, Hugo the lawyer quietly rose to his feet, petition file in hand. At the back, the two plainclothes officers moved forward a row. Henry signaled the ushers, who began clearing the center aisle. Adana's voice was firm. "I object because the groom, Obina, and my bridesmaid, Chioma, plan to deceive and defraud my family. I have recordings, messages, and photos. Please, media desk, open the file labeled Rehearsal Slide 2. Gasps erupted across the room. Someone whispered, "Yezu." Another muttered, "God forbid." Obina's face darkened. "Adana, stop this. What nonsense is this on our wedding day?" She turned her head slightly toward him. "You said to Chioma, after the wedding we move. I heard you with my own ears." "Play the file," the priest said softly after a pause. His voice was heavy. "Let the truth be known." The projector flickered to life. A time-stamped waveform appeared. Then Obina's voice echoed, caught in the hotel corridor. "I don't want Adana to catch us doing this, Chioma." The whole church gasped as one. Some guests clapped their hands to their mouths. The bridesmaids shifted in a line, stunned. Chioma's bouquet shook in her hands. Then Chioma's voice filled the church, smug and chilling. "Relax." The laughter that followed spread through the speakers like poison. Whispers erupted. "Ha! In a hotel. Is that not Chioma's voice? My God!" Obina lunged toward the media desk. "Turn that off." "Stop it," he barked, but quickly forced a smile. "Father, this is edited audio. Anybody can fake." Henry stepped into his path, blocking him. "Don't touch the equipment, sir." "Show the photo," Adana said, her tone calm, almost gentle. The screen switched. There it was. Chioma leaving the hotel's back door at 8:43 a.m. Sunglasses. Cap, head low. Timestamp clear in the corner. The crowd erupted. "Jesus Christ. In the morning? What shame." Chioma's face went pale. "That is not me," she said quickly, voice high. "Anybody can wear cap." The next slide appeared. WhatsApp screenshots. Her words stared back at her. "If vendors stress you, let me handle small balances. We can settle later. Are you sure your dad hasn't given Obina access? It would be easier." "Fake," Chioma shouted, panic spilling out. "She faked this. Adana, how can you?" Adana cut her off. 2 days ago, the caterer told us someone called as family rep to ask for their account. The voice started with Chi. Before cutting the line, the audio of her call with the caterer played next. Calm, factual, undeniable. Adana, Obina barked, desperate now. Listen to me. You love me. We prayed together, we planned together. This is the devil attacking us. The devil did not send your bank details, Hugo said clearly, stepping forward with the transcript. You sent them. The projector changed again. Obina's text from yesterday. Here's the account I'll use for emergencies. First Royal Bank, AG Logistics Limited, 0101. Only if needed, my queen. Gasps. Murmurs. His own company account? Ha! Fraud straight. Obina's smile shattered. He turned on Adana, eyes wide. I was only trying to help. Your father delayed vendors. I didn't want embarrassment. Lie, Chief Daniel said calmly, standing. His voice carried like thunder. I paid all vendors last week. Every one. Victoria stood beside him. Our daughter will not marry a thief. The church buzzed louder. Some guests pointed at Obina. Others shook their heads, muttering, shame. Chioma broke, sobbing now, bouquet rattling in her grip. Adana, please, she cried. I was angry. I was jealous. I thought you always had everything. I let bitterness blind me, but we didn't take anything yet. Forgive me. Adana's voice was cold. You called him our win. You said after the wedding you would smile in secret. I heard you. Chioma reached out a trembling hand. Don't do this here. Let's talk outside. Sister to sister. Please. Adana's eyes were steady. You are not my sister. Obina tried again. Tears in his eyes now, voice cracking. Adana, don't throw us away. We can fix this. We can pray. Don't disgrace me like this. You disgraced yourself, Adana said simply. You wanted to use me to open doors. You wanted to use my family's name for your gain. Some guests clapped softly. Others whispered prayers. A woman in the second row began clapping louder, steady, deliberate. Then another joined. Then another. The sound spread, not wild applause, but firm approval, like rain on a tin roof. Stop that! Obina shouted suddenly, rage breaking through. Stop clapping! Ushers moved closer. The officers at the back stood taller, eyes on him. Adana folded her paper neatly and slid it back into her clutch. She turned to the priest. Sir, I have obeyed the church question. I have spoken now. The priest's eyes softened. Daughter, you have spoken. I cannot continue vows in the face of this. He turned to her parents. What do you say? Chief Daniel spoke first. We stand with our daughter. Victoria added firmly. We stand. The priest nodded gravely. Then this wedding is paused until order is restored. Obina grabbed at Adana's wrist in a final plea. Don't walk away from me, he whispered. Don't ruin me like this. She pulled her hand back. You tried to ruin me in private. I will not cover you in public. Chioma fell to her knees, sobbing. Adana, I beg you. No police. Let us settle this in the family. Please. Adana looked down at her, heart aching but steady. Sit down, Chioma. Do not run. Do not speak my name again. She turned back to the media desk. Close the files. The projector went blank. Hugo stepped into the aisle, petition in hand. At the back, the officers moved forward. Henry gave a subtle nod. Adana stood tall at the altar, veil glowing under the lights. She lifted her chin and spoke her final words to the room. I have finished speaking. Arrest them, Chief Daniel said calmly. His voice carried like thunder in the silent church. The two plainclothes officers stepped forward at once. Badges out. Mr. Obina, Miss Chioma, one officer announced. You are under arrest for attempted fraud and conspiracy to obtain by false pretense. Gasps filled the pews. Chioma dropped her bouquet and sank lower to the floor, crying. Please not here. Please. Obina stiffened, anger flooding his face. You can't arrest me in front of all these people. This is a wedding. Do you know who I am? The officer gripped his arm. We know who you are, and we know what you planned. No! Obina shouted, struggling. Adana, say something. Don't let them disgrace me. Adana looked at him, eyes steady. You disgraced yourself. I warned you. I will not carry your shame. The congregation buzzed, half in shock, half in approval. Some recorded the scene on their phones. Others shook their heads, whispering, so it's true. All of it. Victoria rose from her pew, voice firm. Escort them out quietly. This house is still God's house. The officers nodded. They pulled Obina's wrists together and cuffed him. He cursed under his breath, twisting, but the metal locked. The other officer lifted Chioma gently to her feet, her tears streaking down her face. Adana, please. Chioma sobbed, voice breaking. Forgive me. Don't let them carry me like a thief. Adana's face softened for only a moment. Chioma, you were my sister in all but blood. But you chose envy. You chose betrayal. I will not cover you. Chioma wailed as they pulled her toward the side aisle. Obina fought until Henry and 2 ushers blocked his path. At last, both were escorted out through the side doors, the crowd parting, whispers chasing them. Silence lingered after the doors closed. Then the priest turned to the church. His eyes were sad, but his voice was strong. What has happened here is heavy, but the truth has been spoken. This wedding cannot go forward. Let us pray for healing and for strength for our daughter Adana. The choir began to hum softly. People bowed their heads. Adana stood at the altar, shoulders straight, veil still over her face. Her father joined her, placing a hand on her arm. My daughter, you carried yourself well. Today, they fell into the trap they set for you. Victoria hugged her, whispering, You are free now. Better broken engagement than broken life. Some guests began clapping softly, not for joy but in respect. Soon the sound swelled, an applause of support, of pride. Adana lifted her chin and faced the crowd. Her voice was calm. I thank everyone who came here to witness truth. This was meant to be my wedding, but God turned it into my freedom. They thought they would disgrace me, but I stand here with my dignity. Tears welled in some eyes in the pews. A woman called out, God bless you, my daughter. Others murmured amen. The priest gave a final blessing for peace. Ushers began to guide guests out. Phones buzzed, messages already flying across Lagos. Adana walked slowly down the aisle beside her parents, not as a bride, but as someone who had faced betrayal and conquered it. Cameras flashed, but this time she didn't lower her eyes. At the church steps, Barrister Hugo met them. The petition is active. They'll be processed tonight. Nothing they say can escape what you've gathered. Good, Chief Daniel said. Let this be a lesson to anyone who thinks we are blind. Adana exhaled deeply. The weight that had sat on her chest for days lifted. She looked at her parents and whispered, It is finished. Victoria smiled softly. No, my dear. It is only beginning. Your story has just changed. Adana nodded. She wasn't broken. She wasn't disgraced. She was free.
Get out of my way, Ruth, David shouted, his voice sharp like a broken bottle. He stood in our living room in a crisp white shirt, a gold watch shining on his wrist, and a proud smile sitting on his lips. Beside him stood a woman in a red dress, Sabrina, his new friend. Our twins, Liam and Lily, clung to my sides, their small fingers gripping my dress. The evening sun slid through the windows and made long stripes on the floor, while our neighbors peeped through the open door, whispering. You could feel shame and heat mixing in the air like pepper soup on a hot stove. David raised his chin and pointed at me as if I were a stranger who had brought trouble. Tell your mother to move, he said to our children. Sabrina is staying here tonight. She is more of a woman than your mother will ever be. He said it loud enough for everyone to hear. It felt like a knife. My knees shook. My heart turned to thunder. I opened my mouth, but no words came. Sabrina held his arm and smiled. Don't waste time, babe, she said. You promised to show me the master bedroom. Lily began to cry. Liam stepped forward and spread his hands like a little shield. Daddy, please don't talk to Mom like that, he said, his voice trembling. She made dinner and cleaned the house. She saved for my school shoes. He was only 10, but he stood tall. David laughed at his own child. "Your mother?" he scoffed. "She is a nobody. Sabrina knows how to make a real man feel alive. And you," he pointed at me again, "pack your things into the guest room and stop acting important. I don't want to see you near my room again." Everyone gasped. My breath tightened. Time slowed. I felt my heart break in a clean, bright line, as if the world itself had split. I swallowed hard and stepped back, ready to say something that would push away the shame and save my children's hearts. But at that exact moment, there was a loud knock, 3 heavy beats at the front door. The room fell silent. David froze. Sabrina's smile dropped. Liam and Lily looked up at me, their eyes wide like moons. The knock came again and a deep voice called from outside, "Madam Ruth, we need to speak with you now. It is urgent." Who were they? Why were they asking for me in that strong tone? And why did my name, my simple name, sound like a key in a lock I didn't know existed? I stood still, my hand on my chest, trying to breathe. That is where our night turned. That is where the drumbeat of fate began. Before I tell you what happened at that door, let me tell you where we came from and how our river reached this sharp bend. I grew up in a busy town where morning smells like fresh bread and new hope. My mother, Naomi, raised me with soft hands and a strong heart. She always said, "Ruth, kindness is a seed. If you plant it in the dark, it will still find the sun." My father, Matthew, had a warm laugh that made strangers smile. He sold books in a stall by the big market. He never finished college, but he loved to read. He believed stories could hold a person together when life tried to pull them apart. We were not rich, but our home was rich in songs, prayers, and plates passed around with love. When I was 16, I met David. He had easy charm and fast words. He was handsome in a neat, straight-line way. Perfect haircut, clean shoes, and a mind that ran toward shiny things. He told me I was beautiful, the kind of beautiful that made a man want to build a kingdom. I blushed and believed him. We studied together. He dreamed of business and big houses. I dreamed of a home that smelled like cinnamon and peace. We married under a tall tree while the choir sang. My mother whispered blessings. My father cried and laughed at the same time. People clapped when David lifted my veil and promised to protect me. We moved into a small apartment, painted the walls the color of sunrise, and learned how to be a family. We did not have much, but we had meals and jokes. We had a couch that squeaked. We had long walks and little dreams. When the twins came, my world grew deep and wide. I named our son Liam because I liked the strong sound of it, and our daughter Lily because I wanted her to remember she was a flower, even when life felt like a storm. I cooked, cleaned, fixed lamps, made school lunches, and took on extra work at a little bakery. I told stories at night, stories about brave girls, wise boys, and hidden gifts that humble people carry. At first, David worked hard too. He sold phones at a stall and always said, "I am close to something big." He liked to dress well even when we could barely pay rent. I did not complain. I believed a good wife is a gentle wind that helps her husband's boat cross the river. When he asked for money for a new deal, I gave him the little I had saved for diapers and rice. He kissed my forehead and told me I was his miracle. But as months passed, something big kept moving farther away, like a rainbow that runs from your hand. He started coming home late. He began to smell of strange perfume. He laughed at my old dresses, called them farm clothes, and said Sabrina's fashion was classy. When I asked who Sabrina was, he said, "A business client. She understands my vision." I wanted to understand too. I wanted to help. I asked if we could sit and plan. He waved me away like a fly. Still, I kept my mother's word close. Kindness is a seed. I tried to plant it every day. I left a hot meal on the table. I pressed his shirts. I kept our children's laughter alive with silly games. I met the old woman at the corner who always needed a ride. I helped the neighbor's child with homework. People sometimes looked at me like I was foolish, but I knew who I wanted to be. I would rather be a fountain than a fire. Then the changes grew louder. David stopped talking to me except to blame me. "You are holding me back," he said. "You're too simple. Sabrina would never be stuck in a kitchen. She moves with people who matter." The words hurt, but I refused to become hard inside. I told myself, "Ruth, do not let bitterness buy a bed in your heart." Just as I said that, life threw me a heavy test. One evening, David came home with Sabrina. He didn't warn me. He didn't ask. He just walked in with her as if our home were a hotel he had booked for a party. Sabrina was tall and graceful. Her red dress fit her like a secret. She wore diamonds that flashed when she moved. She looked around the room and laughed softly, as if our humble furniture were a joke. She put her bag on my table as if it were her table. I stood there, stunned but calm, like a tree that feels the first push of a storm. Liam and Lily ran in from their homework and stopped when they saw her. Sabrina bent low as if she wanted to greet them, but she looked at them the way a person looks at shoes in a store. She said, "Hello, little ones," and then straightened, bored. The air grew thin. David clapped his hands once, as if calling a meeting. "Listen," he said to the children, "this is Sabrina. She is a very special friend. Your mom is going to give us some space. We will be in the master bedroom." He said it as if I had already agreed. He did not shimmer with shame or softness. He stood bold in his selfishness, and somehow that made him look smaller. Liam stepped in front of me. "No," he said in a clear voice I had never heard from him before. "This is our home. You can't talk to Mom like that. She is kind. She is good. She works for all of us." Lily nodded and held my hand tighter. David's face twisted. "Don't speak to me like you are my father," he snapped. "I am the head of this house." He turned to the door and shouted to someone outside, "Neighbors, come and see what this woman is doing. She is trying to control me." He pulled the door wide so people could hear, and they came. They stood at the steps. They looked. Some of them hid smiles. Some of them looked sorry, but they all watched. Then he pointed at Sabrina as if she were a queen and said, "This is a real woman. She knows how to elevate a man, unlike this one," he swept his hand at me, "who thinks boiled rice and quiet prayers can pay bills." He laughed and waited for people to laugh with him. A few did, many did not. I looked at him, at the stranger who wore my husband's face, and a calm filled me, strange and deep. It was not weakness. It was the stillness that comes before a new thing begins. That was when the knock hit our door. 3 low thuds. "Madam Ruth," the voice called again. "Please open. It is important." David frowned. "Who is that?" he asked, annoyed. "Ignore them. We are busy." He reached for Sabrina's hand, but the voice at the door kept steady. "Madam Ruth, we were told to find you tonight. We won't leave." I wiped my hands on my dress and walked to the door. David grabbed my wrist hard. "Don't you dare," he hissed. "This is my house. I decide who enters." I looked at my children, at Liam's brave chin and Lily's watery eyes, and gently pulled my wrist free. I opened the door. 2 men stood there in dark suits. Between them stood a woman with bright, caring eyes and a handbag tucked under her arm. She wore a blue scarf and held a folder close to her chest. They looked like people who lived by lists and rules. The woman smiled warmly, as if she had practiced kindness until it became her language. "Good evening," she said softly. "Are you Ruth Carter?" "Yes," I said, feeling small and strong at the same time. She nodded. "My name is Grace. We have been looking for you for months. We were told we might find you here." She paused and looked past me into the room, taking in the tension and the watching faces. "May we come inside to speak with you? It will not take long." David stepped forward, blocking the door. "Who are you?" he asked sharply. "What do you want with my wife?" Grace did not flinch. "This is private," she replied. "It concerns Ruth." "It concerns me, too," he said. "I am her husband." Grace glanced at me, waiting for my signal. I could feel a strange wind rise in my chest. Something was coming, like a drum beat under the earth. I nodded for them to enter. The neighbors pressed closer. Sabrina folded her arms and rolled her eyes, but her heels shifted on the floor. Grace and the men stepped in. She opened her folder and placed a paper on the table where Sabrina had set her bag. Sabrina quickly moved the bag aside, annoyed. Grace looked at me again, steady and kind. "Ruth," she said, "I work with a firm that manages legacies." She tasted the word legacies as if it were both heavy and sweet. "We believe there is information you should have known long ago, yet it appears it never reached you. We are here to correct that." My heart thudded so hard I could hear it. "What information?" I asked in a whisper. David scoffed. "This is nonsense," he said. "Ruth doesn't have any legacies. If anyone has information, it is about me." Grace kept her eyes on mine. "It is about you, Ruth," she said gently. "But," she glanced once at the children, "we can step outside if you prefer." Liam moved closer to me and lifted his chin. "We can stay," he said, voice brave again. "We can handle it." Grace nodded, then took a deep breath and opened the folder wider. Papers whispered against each other. "Before I continue," she said, "I must ask a simple question for our records. Your mother's name was Naomi Carter, yes? And your father was Matthew Carter, who ran a small bookstall near the Central Market." I blinked, stunned. "Yes," I said. "How do you know my parents?" Grace's eyes softened. "Because they were kind," she said, "and because kindness leaves footprints." She pointed to a line on the paper. "Years ago, a quiet man with no children used to sit by your father's stall and buy books he could not read anymore. He carried a little notebook and a big heart. He told your parents many times that your father's stall was the only place he felt seen. Your mother brought him tea on cold days." She paused. "When he died, he left something significant. He left it in a way that was meant to find you." The room tilted. The word significant hung in the air, thick and bright. David finally stopped smiling. Sabrina's eyes sharpened with interest. The neighbors leaned in as if pulled by a rope. Grace looked straight at me. "Ruth," she said, "we believe you are the named beneficiary." She tapped the paper. "We have come to confirm your identity and take you to a private meeting where we can explain fully and show you what belongs to you." "Belongs to me?" My hands felt light, like they were not attached to my arms. 1,000 thoughts ran through my head. The price of the twins' school, the neighbor's daughter who needed a laptop, my father's warm laugh, my mother's old shawl. "Kindness is a seed," I heard again, "and it will find the sun." David pushed forward, voice loud again. "That is impossible," he barked. "If there is money or property, it would be under my name. I am her husband. I handle these things. Show me now." Grace did not hand him the paper. She kept her calm. "Sir, with respect," she said, "this matter is for Ruth." He grabbed the paper. The men in suits stepped in at once, gentle but firm, and placed it back in Grace's hand. David glared at them, then turned on me with ugly anger. "So this is your plan, Ruth," he shouted. "You bring these people to embarrass me? You dress like a poor woman and pretend you are innocent while you plan to take my house from me? You want to make me small in front of my friends? In front of Sabrina?" Sabrina touched his arm, whispering, "Babe, calm down. Let's not look crazy." I felt a steadiness rise inside me. It was the kind that comes when you stand at the edge of a cliff and realize you have wings you never knew you had. I spoke softly. "David," I said, "no one is here to shame you. These people came for me. I will listen. Then I will decide what to do. But I will not be humiliated in my own home again." He stared at me like he had just noticed that I had a spine. Silence stretched. You could hear the clock. You could hear neighbors breathing. You could hear the small courage of 2 children holding on to their mother's dress. Grace moved close and reached for my hand. Her palm was warm. "Ruth," she said, "we need you to come with us tomorrow morning to the office. We will explain everything and complete the final steps. It is important you come alone, or with your children if you must. Please do not bring anyone else." David laughed again, but his laugh cracked. "You will not go anywhere unless I say so," he snapped. "Who do you think you are?" I thought of my mother. I thought of my father. I thought of the old man with the notebook and the tea. I lifted my chin and looked at my children. "I think I am Ruth," I said quietly. "And Ruth knows who she is." Grace nodded and placed a card in my hand. 10 o'clock, she said gently. "We will wait for you." They turned to leave. At the door, Grace looked back once as if she wanted to say more, but then she stepped out into the night. The men followed. The door closed softly behind them. David stood still, and then he exploded. He kicked the table, and Sabrina flinched. "You will not go," he shouted. "If there is any meeting, I will be there, and I will handle it." Liam moved toward him, and I pulled my son back, whispering, "Not now." I took the twins to the kitchen and gave them water. I told them to breathe. I told them that storms are loud, but they pass. I told them that kind hearts are strong hearts. Later, when the neighbors had drifted away and Sabrina had put on her cold smile again, I went to the front room. David stood by the stairs, his hand on the banister, his eyes like dark stones. He spoke in a low voice that tasted like iron. "If you go to that meeting, Ruth," he said, "I will make sure you never set foot in this house again. Choose tonight, me or your useless dreams." I looked at him, really looked, and saw a man afraid that the ground was moving under his feet. I felt no hate, I felt sadness. I felt a quiet strength. "I choose what is right," I answered. "I choose truth. I choose peace. And no matter what happens, I choose our children." He stepped forward, but before he could speak again there was a sharp banging at the window, fast and wild. We all turned. Sabrina screamed and grabbed David's arm. The curtains flew as the window burst inward, and a stone crashed onto the floor, with a folded paper tied around it by a thin string. Liam ran to me. Lily hid her face in my waist. David rushed to the window and peered out, but whoever threw the stone had already vanished into the shadows. My hands shook as I bent to lift the paper. I untied the string and unfolded it. On the paper, in a shaky hand, were just 7 words. "Do not trust anyone. Come alone. Please." My breath caught. My heart beat hard in my ears. Who had written it? Why should I come alone? What secret was waiting in the morning? The stone lay heavy in my palm like a warning bell. I lifted my head and found David's eyes. He stepped closer. "Give me that note," he said. I stepped back, the note tight in my fist. The house held its breath. The night leaned against the glass, listening, and somewhere beyond the dark, a path I could not see was opening. Where are you watching from? Tell me in the comments. And if you want to see what happens next, like this story, subscribe and turn on notifications. The note in my fist felt heavier than a stone. My fingers trembled as I tried to fold it, but David lunged toward me. His eyes were red, his voice thick with anger. "Give it to me, Ruth," he shouted, reaching for the paper. I stepped back quickly, my heart pounding. Liam darted in front of me again, brave as ever. "Don't touch Mom," he cried. Lily clung to my waist, sobbing quietly. David froze, his hand hovering in the air. For a moment, the silence was so sharp, it cut through the room. Sabrina stood behind him, her painted lips pressed tight, her eyes flickering between the note and my face. She wanted to see what was written there, but she wasn't bold enough to snatch it herself. I looked at David and spoke softly, but firmly. "This message is for me. Not for you, not for Sabrina. For me." The veins on his neck bulged. He turned to Sabrina as if expecting her to cheer him on. But Sabrina shrugged and said, "Let her have it. It might just be a prank. Don't waste energy." His face darkened. He hated that she dismissed it, but he stepped back, muttering under his breath, "This nonsense won't end well for you, Ruth. Mark my words." I slipped the note into my apron pocket, close to my heart. The words echoed in my mind, "Do not trust anyone. Come alone, please." That night I lay awake beside Lily, who had crawled into my bed after David slammed the bedroom door with Sabrina following him upstairs. Liam was asleep on the mat near us, his little chest rising and falling. I stroked their hair gently and stared into the dark. Questions twisted inside me. Who sent the note? Why warn me not to trust anyone? Could Grace and the suited men truly be on my side, or was there a hidden trap? My mother's words whispered again, "Kindness is a seed. Plant it even in the dark." By dawn, I made my choice. I would go to the meeting, alone. The next morning, David strutted around in a black blazer, Sabrina at his side, as if ready to march into an office and claim whatever was waiting. He told me coldly, "Get ready. We're all going. If you think I'll let strangers deceive you, you're a bigger fool than I thought." I stood by the kitchen sink, washing the last plate from breakfast. The twins sat quietly, sensing the storm brewing. I dried my hands and turned to him. "No," I said calmly. "I'll go alone." The words hung in the air like thunder before rain. David laughed, a sharp, bitter laugh. "You? Alone? Do you even know how to find their office? You'd get lost before you reach the street." "I'll find it," I replied, looking him in the eye. "They gave me the address. I don't need you." For the first time in years, he looked startled, as though he didn't recognize me. Sabrina rolled her eyes and muttered, "Babe, leave her. If it's nothing, let her embarrass herself. If it's something real, we'll deal with it later." I packed a small bag with water and the note tucked safely inside. I kissed Liam and Lily on their foreheads, telling them gently, "Be good, protect each other. I'll be back soon." Their eyes searched mine, full of questions I couldn't answer. When I stepped out of the house, the morning sun felt warm on my face, but my heart pounded like a drum. I walked quickly, my sandals tapping the pavement, every step heavy with hope and fear. The address on Grace's card led me to a tall glass building in the center of the city. I paused at the entrance, staring at my reflection in the shiny doors. My dress was plain, my shoes worn. I looked like a simple housewife walking into a world of polished shoes and briefcases, but something inside me whispered, "Ruth, stand tall. This is your path now." I pushed the door open. Inside, the air smelled of fresh paint and quiet money. People in suits moved like they were in a dance, swift and serious. I clutched my bag and followed the directions to the 5th floor. My heart thudded harder with every step of the elevator. When the doors opened, Grace was waiting for me. Her blue scarf was brighter in the daylight, her smile gentle. "You came," she said, her voice like calm water. "Yes," I whispered. She led me into a private room. The 2 suited men were there, along with another person, a man with silver hair and glasses, holding a leather file. Grace gestured for me to sit. I lowered myself into the chair, my palms sweating. The silver-haired man cleared his throat. "Mrs. Carter," he began, "I represent the estate of Mr. Jonathan Blake. Do you remember that name?" I shook my head slowly. "No," I said truthfully. He nodded, unsurprised. Jonathan Blake was a wealthy man, quiet and private. He lived most of his life here but had no close family. Years ago, he came across your father's bookstall. According to his journals, your family treated him with kindness at a time when he felt invisible to the world. He never forgot that. Grace touched my hand gently. "Ruth, he named you in his will. You are the sole beneficiary of his entire estate." My ears rang. The room spun. "Beneficiary?" I whispered. "Yes," the man said. "Everything he owned now belongs to you. Properties, investments, accounts, altogether valued at approximately..." He glanced at the papers and said slowly, $900 million. The words slammed into me like thunder. My hands shook. My chest rose and fell too quickly. 900 million? It sounded unreal, like a dream someone forgot to wake me from. Grace's eyes stayed on mine, steady and kind. "This is not a mistake, Ruth. This belongs to you. We only need your signature to complete the process." Before I could speak, the door burst open. David stormed in, Sabrina right behind him. His face was red with rage, his blazer flapping as he shouted, "She is my wife. If there's money, it's mine too. Show me those papers." The suited men jumped to their feet, blocking him. Grace stood tall, her calm finally breaking into steel. "Sir, this is not your meeting. Leave immediately." But David wasn't listening. He lunged forward, pointing at me with a trembling hand. "Ruth, don't you dare sign anything without me. If you do, you'll regret it for the rest of your life." My heart pounded as the room filled with shouting, tension, and fear. The papers lay in front of me, waiting for my hand, and just as I reached for the pen, the lights flickered, and the glass windows rattled with a sudden crash outside. People screamed in the hallway. Something dangerous was unfolding, right here, right now. What was happening outside that room? Who had caused the crash? And would I even get the chance to sign those papers before everything spiraled out of control? The answers were waiting just beyond that moment. The sound of breaking glass shook the entire floor. Everyone froze. The windows vibrated, and a sharp alarm began to ring. People outside the meeting room shouted and ran in different directions. My heart leapt to my throat. David, instead of protecting us, shoved past one of the suited men and grabbed my arm. "Ruth, leave these clowns. We're getting out of here. You're signing nothing unless I say so." I yanked my arm free, surprising even myself with the force. "Let go of me, David." My voice came out firm, louder than I expected. For once, I wasn't trembling. Sabrina clung to his sleeve, her heels clicking on the floor. "David, this is crazy. Let's just go. If there's money, we'll deal with it later." But her eyes weren't calm. There was hunger in them, a greed that burned brighter than fear. Grace quickly locked the door. She looked at me, her calm returning even in the chaos. "Ruth, stay seated. This building is safe. Security is handling the situation." The silver-haired lawyer, pale but composed, adjusted his glasses. "Sometimes these things happen. Not everyone likes to see wealth passed to someone unexpected." He gave me a pointed look, as if to warn me that danger often follows blessings. My stomach tightened. The note tied to the stone echoed in my mind. "Do not trust anyone. Come alone. Please." Could this be connected? Was someone trying to scare me away from claiming what was mine? The alarms quieted after a few minutes, though the tension remained heavy. Grace motioned for me to breathe. "It's under control now," she said softly. "But Ruth, you need to understand. Your life has changed forever. Once this transfer is finalized, people will come for you. Some will pretend to be friends. Some will come with smiles but knives hidden in their words. You must be wise." David laughed bitterly. "She? Wise? Don't make me laugh. She can't even handle running a house. She'll lose it all in a month. That's why she needs me." He jabbed a finger at the documents. "Hand them over. I'll manage everything." "No," Grace snapped, her voice sharp now. "This is not yours. It belongs to Ruth alone. Legally, you have no claim." David's face twisted. "She's my wife. Her wealth is my wealth." The lawyer shook his head. "Not in this case. The inheritance was left to Ruth Carter, and Ruth Carter only. Your marriage does not grant you ownership of her legacy." The room fell silent. For the first time, David's confidence cracked. His jaw tightened, his hand balled into a fist. I saw something in his eyes, not just anger, but fear. Fear of losing control, fear of being exposed. I leaned forward, my voice low but steady. "David, you humiliated me in front of our children. You brought another woman into our home, and still I stayed kind. But today," I paused, my chest rising with new strength. "Today is different. I won't let you steal what does not belong to you." He glared at me, his lips curling. "You'll regret saying that." Before anyone could move, the door shook violently. Someone was banging on it hard. "Open up," a rough voice demanded. "We know she's inside. Open now." Grace's face drained of color. She whispered urgently, "Ruth, stay behind me." The suited men drew closer to the door, ready to block whoever was outside. The banging grew louder, the voice more aggressive. "Ruth Carter, if you sign those papers, you'll never leave this building alive." My heart pounded so hard it hurt. David's eyes widened, then narrowed. Sabrina clutched his arm, terrified. The silver-haired lawyer reached for the phone, calling for security. The threat outside grew louder, angrier. And then, the door handle began to turn. Was this another test of my courage? Or was it the hand of fate, forcing me to choose between fear and destiny? I clutched the papers in front of me, the pen still resting by my hand, and whispered a silent prayer. The door swung open with a crash, and that was when the true storm entered. The door flew open with a force that shook the frame. 3 men in dark clothes stormed in, their faces covered with black masks. One of them held a metal bar, another clutched something that looked like a broken bottle, and the third, tall, broad, with fire in his eyes, pointed straight at me. "There she is," he barked. "Ruth Carter, stand up. You're coming with us." My breath caught. The papers in front of me rattled as my hands shook. The room erupted in chaos. Grace stepped in front of me like a shield. The 2 suited men braced themselves to fight, and the silver-haired lawyer scrambled back, nearly toppling his chair. David, instead of protecting me, shoved Sabrina forward, using her body as a barrier. "Don't come near me," he shouted, cowering. His cowardice was plain for all to see. Sabrina screamed and pushed him away, realizing what he had done. The masked man with the bar slammed it against the wall, making the windows tremble. "We don't want trouble," he growled. "We only want her. Move aside, or we'll drag her out." Grace's voice was steady, though I saw her hands trembling slightly. "You are trespassing in a secured building. Security is already on the way. If you leave now, you might escape before they arrive. But if you lay one hand on her, you'll regret it for the rest of your life." The leader laughed coldly. "Do you think we're afraid of guards in suits? We came here knowing what we want. She is not walking out of this place alive if she signs those papers." His words struck me like arrows. My mind spun. The note, the warning on the stone, "Do not trust anyone. Come alone. Please." Whoever wrote it had known danger was near. Was this what they meant? David suddenly found his voice, but not his courage. "If you want her, take her," he shouted, pointing at me. "She doesn't matter. She's just a housewife, pretending to be important." The entire room turned to him in shock. Even the masked men paused for a second, staring at him as if they couldn't believe the betrayal dripping from his tongue. My heart sank, not because I was surprised. Deep down I had seen this cowardice in him before, but because he said it in front of our children's memory. Grace drew a deep breath and whispered fiercely, "Ruth, stay behind me. Don't move." She looked at the suited men. "Hold them off until security arrives." The fight broke suddenly. The men in suits lunged at the intruders, fists flying, chairs toppling, glass shattering. Shouts and grunts filled the room. Sabrina screamed and ducked under the table. David bolted toward the corner, trying to disappear into the shadows. One of the masked men pushed past the struggle and reached for me. His hand grazed my shoulder. For a split second, I froze. But then I remembered my children, Liam's brave face, Lily's trembling hand, and something fierce rose inside me. I grabbed the nearest object, a heavy glass jug of water, and swung it with all my strength. It crashed against the man's arm, making him yelp in pain. He stumbled back, clutching his wrist. "Stay away from me!" I shouted, my voice echoing louder than I ever imagined. The commotion drew a thunder of footsteps from the hallway. Security guards in navy uniforms burst in, pulling the masked intruders away, forcing them to the ground. The men resisted, but they were outnumbered. Handcuffs clicked shut. The air filled with ragged breathing and the smell of fear. When the room finally settled, the leader of the intruders was pinned to the floor, his mask half torn, revealing a scar across his cheek. He glared at me with burning eyes. "This is not over," he hissed. "Others are coming for you, more dangerous than us. You'll never keep what you've been given." His words chilled me to the bone. The guards dragged them out, their curses fading down the hall. The silence afterward was heavy. Grace knelt beside me, her eyes kind again. "Ruth," she said softly, "this is the beginning of your storm. But don't be afraid. You are stronger than you think. And you are not alone." I looked around the room. The lawyer was shaking, clutching his files to his chest. Sabrina crawled out from under the table, her dress torn, her eyes full of fear and shame. David stood in the corner, pale, sweating, his mask of pride broken into pieces. And me. I stood in the middle, breathing hard, my heart alive with fire. For the first time in my life, I felt the ground shift beneath me, not to make me fall, but to raise me higher. But just as I thought the danger was over, Grace's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her face changed, serious, urgent. She looked at me and whispered, "Ruth, we have a bigger problem. The accounts linked to your inheritance. Someone is already trying to drain them. They knew before we even finished here." The room spun again. My hands went cold. Who was behind all of this? Who knew about my inheritance before I even touched it? And most of all, who could I really trust now? Grace's words struck the air like lightning. The accounts linked to your inheritance. Someone is already trying to drain them. For a moment my breath froze. It felt as if the ground had vanished beneath my feet. My hands clutched the table, my knuckles white. David's eyes widened, and I caught a flash of greed quickly hiding behind his mask of shock. Sabrina gasped softly, though I could see calculations swimming in her gaze. The silver-haired lawyer's voice shook as he stammered, That's impossible. These accounts are heavily protected." He shuffled through his files with trembling fingers. "How could anyone have access this fast?" Grace's face hardened with steel. "It means someone close, someone with inside knowledge, has already leaked information. They were waiting for this moment." I felt the note in my apron pocket burn against me. "Do not trust anyone. Come alone. Please." My heart skipped. Could it be that the warning had not been about masked thugs or even David, but about something deeper, something hidden in the very people now surrounding me? David stepped forward suddenly, his voice louder than the pounding in my ears. "Well, then she clearly can't handle this. Look at her, she's shaking like a leaf. Let me take charge. I'll stop whoever is draining the accounts. Just sign power of attorney over to me, Ruth. Let a man handle it." I turned to him slowly, my eyes steady. For once I saw him clearly, not as my husband, not as the man I once loved, but as the coward who had betrayed me in front of my children. His words no longer had power over me. "No, David," I said firmly, "you humiliated me. You called me nothing. You tried to give me away to criminals. From today you don't get to decide for me anymore." The room went quiet. His face darkened, twisted with rage. He opened his mouth to speak, but Sabrina cut him off. "David," she hissed, tugging on his arm, "don't push too far. You're only embarrassing yourself." He shoved her hand away, his pride burning hotter than reason. "You don't understand," he snapped. "That money should have been mine. All mine." His eyes darted toward the files on the table, wild and desperate. Before he could lunge, the suited men stepped in front of him, their broad frames blocking his path. "Enough," one of them said sharply. "Sit down, sir, before we throw you out ourselves." David glared at them, then at me, his chest heaving. Slowly, he sank into a chair, muttering curses under his breath. Grace ignored him and turned back to me, her eyes calm but urgent. "Ruth, listen to me. You must act quickly. If someone is already attempting to drain the accounts, you need to claim them legally and secure control before they vanish. But once you do, your life will never be the same. Are you ready for that?" I swallowed hard. My hands trembled, but inside me, something fierce was waking up. I thought of Liam and Lily, of their small hands clutching me when David mocked me. I thought of my mother's words, "Kindness is a seed, even in the dark." And I realized this was my time to plant it in a new field, one where I would stand tall for my children, no matter the storm. "Yes," I whispered, then louder, "Yes, I'm ready." The silver-haired lawyer slid the final document toward me, the pen gleaming like a sword waiting for its warrior. My hand hovered over it, my heart pounding. And then, the lights flickered violently. The building shook as if something heavy had crashed into it. A loud siren wailed through the halls. Security rushed past the door, shouting, "There's a fire on the lower floor. Everyone evacuate immediately." Smoke curled into the room through the cracks in the door. The air grew sharp and bitter. Sabrina screamed, covering her mouth. The lawyer dropped his files in panic. The suited men grabbed Grace and me, urging us toward the emergency exit. David, instead of helping, snatched at the scattered papers, trying to stuff them into his blazer pocket. "If she won't take it, I will," he shouted. But the smoke made him cough violently, and the document slipped from his grasp. The heat rose quickly, alarms blaring louder. Grace pulled me by the arm. "Ruth, we have to move now. The fire might not be an accident." I staggered forward, clutching the note in my pocket, my mind spinning. The inheritance, the warning, the intruders, and now, fire. Someone wanted me silenced before I could even sign. But who was truly behind this storm? And would I survive long enough to uncover the truth? The stairwell door banged open, smoke swirling in thick waves. We had no choice but to step into the unknown. The stairwell was dim and filled with smoke. My lungs burned with every breath, and the sound of pounding footsteps echoed off the walls as people rushed downward. The alarm wailed above us like a cry of warning. Grace gripped my arm tightly. "Stay close, Ruth. Don't let go." I held the railing with one hand and pressed the other against my apron pocket where the warning note rested, damp with sweat. The words haunted me. "Do not trust anyone. Come alone. Please." Who had known this would happen? Behind us, the silver-haired lawyer stumbled, coughing violently. The suited men pulled him forward, shielding him from the smoke. Sabrina shrieked as her heels slipped on the steps, nearly tumbling into David, who cursed and shoved her out of his way. His desperation was ugly. He didn't care who fell as long as he made it out first. When we reached the fourth-floor landing, a wall of fire roared below us, blocking the way down. The heat was unbearable. Sparks leapt like angry spirits. People screamed as they turned back up the stairs. "Up!" Grace shouted over the chaos. "We have to go up to the roof!" We pushed upward against the tide, my chest heaving, my throat raw. Liam and Lily's faces flashed in my mind, their eyes wide and frightened. I whispered under my breath, "I must live. I must live for them." On the 7th floor, we burst into a wide corridor where smoke had not yet reached. Alarms still blared, and the air smelled of burning wires. Grace pulled me aside into a smaller office. The suited men barred the door. For a moment, it was just the two of us. "Ruth," Grace said, her eyes sharp but full of urgency, "this was no accident. Someone started that fire to keep you from signing. And I need you to understand, your husband may not be innocent in this." My chest tightened. I wanted to deny it. But deep down I knew. David's eyes, his greed, his desperation, it all pointed to one truth. Grace took my hands. "We'll get you out. But from this moment on, you must protect yourself even from those closest to you. Trust your instincts. Trust what you know in your heart." Before I could answer, the door burst open. David stumbled in, his face streaked with sweat, his blazer singed at the edges. His eyes darted around the room, then locked onto me. "There you are," he gasped, his voice ragged. He staggered closer, coughing dramatically. "Ruth, thank God you're alive. I was looking everywhere for you." Grace stepped between us, her arm raised. "Stay back, you're not welcome here." David ignored her, his gaze desperate and hungry. "Ruth, listen to me. You saw what happened down there. The world is dangerous. You need me. We can face this together. Just sign everything into my name and I'll protect you and the kids. I promise." His words dripped with false sweetness, but his eyes betrayed him, wild, greedy, calculating. I took a slow breath, my heart steady now. "Protect me," I said softly, "like you did last night, when you humiliated me in front of our children, or like you did today, when you tried to give me away to those men." David's mouth opened, but no words came. His mask cracked, his lies exposed. For the first time I saw him falter. Grace turned to me quickly. "Ruth, we can get you out to safety, but the question is, do you want him coming with us?" My hands trembled. My heart ached. This was the man I once loved, the father of my children. But he was also the man who had mocked me, betrayed me, and sold me cheap in front of strangers. Before I could answer, shouts echoed down the hall. Heavy footsteps pounded closer. A deep voice boomed, "Check every room, don't let her escape." David's eyes widened in terror. He lunged toward me, grabbing my wrist. "Ruth, please, take me with you, don't leave me to them." I froze, torn between past love and present betrayal. Grace's voice cut through the chaos, sharp and urgent. "Decide now, Ruth, him or freedom." The walls trembled as the intruders drew nearer. Smoke thickened again. My children's faces flashed before me. The weight of my decision pressed down like a mountain, and with a pounding heart, I opened my mouth to speak. My lips parted, but before I could answer, the door shook violently as fists slammed against it. The suited men braced their shoulders against the frame, but the wood cracked with each blow. Smoke curled in from the hallway. My time to choose was vanishing. David clung to my wrist like a drowning man. His eyes were wide, his words spilling fast. "Ruth, you can't leave me. Think of Liam and Lily. They need their father." My chest tightened at the mention of my children. But another voice rose inside me, clear and strong. What kind of father humiliates their mother? What kind of man abandons his own family for pride and greed? Grace stepped closer, her hand on my shoulder, her voice steady even in the chaos. "Ruth, your children don't need a father who destroys them. They need a mother who will stand tall." The pounding at the door grew louder. A crack splintered across the frame. Sabrina, who had followed David and was now huddled in the corner, screamed, "They're coming in, do something." David's grip on me tightened. "Please, Ruth," he begged, his voice shaking. "I was wrong. I was stupid. Just forgive me this once. Don't let them take me." I looked at him, the man who once vowed to protect me at the altar, who now stood revealed as weak and selfish, the man who had mocked me in front of our children, who would rather see me broken than lift me up. Slowly I pulled my wrist free. My voice was calm, though my heart pounded like a drum. "David, I will not abandon my children for your mistakes. You chose your path. Now I must choose mine." His face crumbled, rage and fear battling in his eyes. He tried to speak, but the door finally burst open with a deafening crack. 3 intruders stormed in, smoke swirling around them. "Take her!" one of them shouted, pointing straight at me. The suited men lunged forward, grappling with the attackers. The room filled with chaos, shouts, fists, the crash of furniture toppling. Sabrina ducked under the desk, wailing. David, true to himself, bolted for the corner, trying to disappear into the shadows. One of the intruders charged straight at me. My body froze for a heartbeat, but then I remembered Liam's brave little stand, Lily's trembling voice. I thought of my mother's words. Kindness is a seed, but courage is its root. I grabbed a broken chair leg from the floor and swung it with every ounce of strength I had. It struck the man across the shoulder. He roared in pain, staggering back. Grace pulled me aside, shielding me with her body. "Move, Ruth," she cried. "The roof! Now!" The lawyer scrambled to his feet, clutching the files to his chest as though they were his lifeline. The suited men held the attackers long enough for us to break free. Grace shoved open the door to another stairwell, and we fled upward. The heat and smoke thickened as we climbed, but at last we burst onto the rooftop. The sky was dark with smoke, flames glowing from windows below. Sirens wailed in the distance. The wind whipped my hair into my face, stinging my eyes. A helicopter's blades chopped the air above us, its searchlight sweeping across the roof. A voice shouted through a megaphone, "Stay where you are, help is on the way." But just as hope surged in my chest, a gunshot cracked the air. The bullet ricocheted off the rooftop, inches from my feet. I froze, my breath catching. From the opposite building, a shadowy figure stood with a rifle aimed directly at me. Grace grabbed my shoulders and shoved me low to the ground. "Stay down, Ruth," she shouted. "They don't want any of us. They only want you." The truth cut deep. Someone had decided I was worth killing before I could claim my inheritance. I pressed my face against the concrete, my heart thundering. The helicopter roared above. The rifleman steadied his aim. And in that split second, I realized I had only moments to decide whether to run for cover, Trust the helicopter crew or face the danger head-on? The shot echoed, and the rooftop turned into a battlefield of smoke, fire, and fear. Grace pressed me flat against the ground as another bullet cracked the air, spraying chips of concrete around us. The helicopter hovered, its searchlight swinging wildly. The suited men burst through the rooftop door, dragging David and Sabrina behind them. David was shouting, "They're after Ruth, not me! Take her, not me!" His voice carried across the roof, cowardice dripping from every word. The rifleman steadied his weapon for another shot. My heart thundered, but then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw movement. A security guard from the building, brave and quick, climbed onto a nearby ledge and fired back. The sniper stumbled, his rifle clattering as he retreated into the shadows of the other building. The helicopter swooped lower. A rope ladder dropped, swinging in the wind. A voice shouted, "Mrs. Carter, climb now!" Grace pulled me up, her eyes fierce. "This is your moment, Ruth. Don't let fear rob you. Go!" I looked back. David stood frozen, his face pale, his lips trembling. Sabrina clung to his arm, eyes wide with terror. Liam and Lily's faces filled my mind, their trust, their tears, their bravery. I grabbed the rope ladder. My hands burned as I climbed, but I did not stop. Grace followed close behind, urging me upward. The wind whipped my dress. My arms ached, but with every step, I rose higher above the smoke, the fire, the betrayal. When we finally reached the helicopter, strong hands pulled us inside. The blades roared above, drowning out the chaos below. I collapsed into the seat, trembling but alive. Grace sat beside me, holding my hand tightly. "You did it," she whispered. "You chose life. You chose courage. Now your children will have the mother they deserve." As the helicopter lifted us away, I looked down at the rooftop. David stood there, waving frantically, screaming my name, but his cries were lost in the roar of the blades. He had chosen humiliation, selfishness, and betrayal. I had chosen freedom. The city lights stretched below like stars scattered on earth. My eyes filled with tears, tears of pain but also of rebirth. I was no longer just a wife mocked in front of her children. I was Ruth Carter, the woman who had survived fire, betrayal, and bullets. And now, I was the woman who would rise, not for wealth alone, but for kindness, for courage, for Liam and Lily. Grace squeezed my hand again. "The inheritance is safe now. $900 million, yes, but far more than money, Ruth. You've inherited strength, dignity, a chance to build a life where kindness rules, not cruelty." I closed my eyes and let the wind wash my face. I thought of my mother's words. Kindness is a seed. Even in the dark, it will find the sun. And I knew then, the wealth was not the true treasure. The true treasure was the fire that had been lit inside me, the fire that no storm, no betrayal, no husband's cruelty could ever put out. From that day on, I promised myself to raise my children with love, to use my fortune to help the weak, and to never again bow to humiliation. Because I had learned the greatest lesson of all. Sometimes you must walk through the fire to discover the gold that was always inside you. Where are you watching from? Tell me in the comments. And if you were moved by Ruth's journey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story so others can learn that true wealth is not only in money, but in courage, kindness, and dignity. The helicopter carried us far from the burning building, the city lights glowing beneath us. My heart still thundered, my palms raw from the rope ladder, but I held on to one thought: Liam and Lily. When we landed on a secure rooftop, security officers and fire marshals rushed to meet us. Grace kept a firm hold on my arm, guiding me inside. The air smelled of smoke, fear, and adrenaline, but for the first time in days, I felt safe. Inside a quiet office, the silver-haired lawyer laid out the documents again, this time under heavy guard. He looked at me with steady eyes. "Mrs. Carter," he said, "after what you've endured, I have no doubt you understand the weight of this inheritance. Sign these papers and the estate will be secured in your name." My hands trembled as I took the pen. Memories rushed through my mind. David's mocking words, Sabrina's smirks, the masked men, the fire, the sniper's rifle. Every moment had been a storm trying to break me. And yet, here I was. I signed. The pen scratched across the paper, sealing my name to the fortune my parents' kindness had unknowingly earned. Grace exhaled deeply, relief shining in her eyes. "It's done," she whispered. "You're safe now." But even as she spoke, my heart twisted. David. I saw again how he had pointed at me in front of strangers and called me nothing, how he had pushed Sabrina forward as a shield, how he had begged at the last minute not from love but from fear. Tears filled my eyes, not for him, but for the broken man he had chosen to become. My children had seen it. They had witnessed their father's humiliation and cowardice. I knew the scars would remain. "Grace," I said softly, "I need to go home. My children must know that I am alive, that their mother will never leave them." We arranged transport under guard. As the car sped through the night, I stared out the window, the city flashing by. In my chest, grief and strength battled, but strength was winning. When I arrived home, Liam and Lily ran into my arms, their small bodies trembling. "Mom!" they cried, clinging to me. I held them tightly, breathing in their scent, kissing their hair, whispering, "I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." But even in that moment of reunion, David lurked at the doorway. His face was pale, his eyes hollow. He stepped forward, his voice hoarse. "Ruth, please. I was wrong. Forgive me. We can start over. We can use the money to build a life together." The children stiffened in my arms. Liam's voice was firm, sharper than a boy his age should ever have to be. "We don't need you, Dad. You hurt Mom. You hurt us." David's eyes filled with tears, but his pride would not let him bend. He turned away, his shoulders hunched, his shadow disappearing into the night. As I closed the door, my heart whispered the truth. Some people you cannot carry, no matter how much you once loved them. I tucked my children into bed and whispered stories of courage and kindness. And as they drifted to sleep, I knew the real battle had only just begun. For wealth attracts wolves, and my kindness had made me a target. The question now was, would I rise above not only David's betrayal, but the world's greed? Morning broke with golden light, but the peace did not last. News spread quickly about the fire, the masked men, and my sudden inheritance. My phone buzzed non-stop. Neighbors who once whispered behind my back now knocked on my door with false smiles and curious eyes. Old friends appeared, offering help I never asked for. Even distant relatives who had ignored me for years suddenly remembered my name. Grace stood beside me, calm but watchful. "This is the storm I warned you about," she said. "But remember, Ruth, storms reveal who is truly with you." I smiled weakly. "Then let the storm come. I have nothing to hide." But it was not only neighbors who came. By noon, the masked intruder's leader, the man with the scar, appeared on the news. He had escaped custody. His voice crackled through the broadcast, his eyes blazing with fury. "Ruth Carter," he spat, "you think you've won. But this is only the beginning. That wealth will never stay in your hands." The children saw it. Liam's jaw clenched. Lily clung to me. I kissed their foreheads and whispered, "No matter what comes, we will face it together." That evening, as the sun set, I stood before the mirror. The woman who looked back at me was not the same Ruth who had been mocked, humiliated, and betrayed. Her eyes were sharper, her spine straighter, her heart stronger. I realized then that the 900 meters was not my true inheritance. My true inheritance was resilience, dignity, the ability to rise after being broken. With Grace's guidance, I began planning, not for luxury, not for revenge, but for a legacy. Schools for children like Liam and Lily, homes for widows and mothers abandoned like me, hospitals for the sick. My wealth would not be chains, it would be wings. As I wrote down those dreams, a peace settled over me, the kind of peace that no betrayal could steal. Days later, David returned one last time, broken and desperate. He stood at the gate, calling out my name. I stepped outside, calm and firm. "Ruth," he pleaded, his voice hoarse, "I've lost everything. Let me back in, for the children's sake." I looked at him with clear eyes. "David, I forgave you long ago, but forgiveness does not mean return. The children will always know you're their father, but you cannot be my husband anymore." He bowed his head, tears falling, and walked away for the last time. I turned back to my children, their hands warm in mine. The future stretched before us, wide and bright. And so I learned the truth. Humiliation cannot break a woman who knows her worth. Betrayal cannot silence a mother who chooses love. And wealth is only power when it flows with kindness. From that day on, I was no longer the Ruth who was mocked. I was Ruth Carter, the woman who rose. The story ends here, but the lesson remains. In life, storms will come. But if you choose courage, if you choose kindness, if you choose to stand tall, nothing, not even betrayal, can steal your light. Where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. And don't forget, like this story, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss powerful tales like this one.